Guys, Nick here, and welcome back to another Supergirl episode review. My thoughts on tonight's episode of Supergirl titled Manhunter. And you know what? This was a really great episode. Just between everything from the flashbacks to seeing the relationship between Kara and Alex and John Jones, and see, I love this episode. And honestly, some of my favorite parts of the episode were the flashbacks. And you know, I want to start the episode by saying this. Lucy Lane has been a character that I really haven't cared for in any way whatsoever. Because I feel like the writers of the show never really gave Jenna Dewan Tatum, who plays Lucy Lane, anything to really work with. Because honestly, when they first said that she was coming onto the show, I thought at the time it was like, oh, here we go. She's basically gonna be like the Lois Lane of this show. But she really isn't. She's definitely her own character in her own right, and I'll give the show and the writers that. But at the same time, like, they really only developed her as James's girlfriend, and that's really all she's really been up to this point. I mean, yeah, she was like the military lawyer and the whole like Red Tornado thing. Like, I don't know. I didn't like that aspect of the character, and tonight was the first time, like, majority of the episode, I was like, oh, here we go, just like more like stupid Lucy Lane shit. I'm not saying that she's stupid. It's just like the way I don't like the way they use her, so that's why I said stupid. But you know what? After they finally revealed Kara's identity to Lucy Lane and the way she helped them out and trying to stop Colonel Harper from taking John and Alex to Project Cadmus, and I'll get to that in a sec. And the fact, just seeing how she was with Kara for as little of a time as it was, and her at the end of the episode ultimately becoming the new head of the DEO, and see, I'm actually really looking forward to how they really use her character. And now that she's able to be more fleshed out and not just a sideline female interest character, or a female love interest, I feel like they can do a lot more with this character. And I'm really excited to see what they do. And also, by the end of the episode, I was actually rooting for Lucy. Like, the first time I can say that since the show started. And it took like 17 episodes, or how many? Well, and Lucy Lane hasn't been in every single episode. She's not exactly the most developed character, but this gives the writers a chance. While John Jones and Alex are considered fugitives, it gives the writers a chance to develop Lucy Lane more as a character. So I'm actually really looking forward to that. So yeah. With that being said, I'll get into everything else I liked about this episode. Once again, like I said in the beginning of my video, flashbacks I freaking loved. And a lot of times with these superhero shows, the flashbacks are really cheesy. It's like, oh, here we go. Because in shows like Arrow, like, they've relied so heavily on the flashbacks, and the flashbacks... because the flashback is telling a different kind of story there, because the flashbacks are like a part of what's going on in the show. I don't like how they've been handled after a long period of time, because they kind of ran out of ideas, I feel like, at that point. And then in Flash, sometimes sometimes the flashbacks work, sometimes they don't. But this was an episode that, you know, every single flashback had a purpose. Every single flashback made me feel emotionally invested in these characters, because you see people, these characters that we know and love at different points in their life. And we see John Jones and when he saved Jeremiah Danvers from a snake. But ultimately, when he saved Jeremiah Danvers, you see that there's already a bond there. I mean, I thought it was a little cheesy when he said, "Take care of my girls." Like, I mean, I thought it was sweet, but at the same time, I'm like, come on, like, that's what you say to an alien that you just met. I mean, yeah, you could say, yeah, there's like that sense of trust that Jeremiah feels he can trust him. But at the same time, it's like, okay, come on, dude. But I understand at the same time, because like John can sympathize because he lost his own family. So I see where that's coming from. But again, seeing that relationship and developing how ultimately that reflects on how John Jones went on to take care of Alex, and they flash back to when Alex a couple years ago was partying hard, and she ultimately gets arrested. It was kind of fun seeing that side of Alex, because she's so hard and stern at this point, to see her kind of like more like, I don't know, like more carefree. I kind of like seeing that, because again, seeing characters at a different point in their life and completely a really different kind of person. And she's a hardcore party girl from what we saw. So it was kind of funny seeing that. And then also seeing the flashbacks of like when Kara and Alex were younger, and it was like when Kara was first going to school, and the scene I was like really reminiscent of like Man of Steel, when she's like adapting to all of her powers, and she has like, the super hearing and X-ray visions like all coming at once. Again, very reminiscent of Man of Steel, and they've done done that in the show a couple of times. Well, of course, me being a huge Superman fan, Man of Steel is my favorite Superman movie ever. I like seeing those references, but again, going back to that whole bit of like seeing young Kara and young Alex, and seeing their relationship develop, and seeing them when they're at the beach, and Kara's like seeing looking at the bird, and just like she goes on to save that lady and her baby from the truck, and seeing how Jeremiah was like, oh, we can't be doing this, like we can only say like, oh, you were just lucky only once, and all that stuff. And seeing that, like, even though that's not his daughter, there's still that father-daughter relationship that is going to have a really heavy impact on Kara moving forward. And seeing the flashbacks of Kara at her first day at Kaka, or her interview for being Cat Grant's assistant, and we meet a younger Windshot, and seeing Kara's almost like lack of, Kara's a confident person, but like her insistence of being so average and all that kind of stuff, and they got to the point where like she kept saying average strength, average eyesight, and hearing Cat, because in my head I'm like, okay, Kara, we get it, but then Cat Grant was like, okay, I get it. I was like, okay, like they did that on purpose. And seeing how she got that job there, I feel like the flashbacks in general in this episode really, really worked for me, because it told more of a story again, like giving us more of a backstory of what's been going on with these characters before we were introduced to them in the pilot. So I really like seeing that, and just seeing how driven Kara and Alex were and protecting John Jones, because John Jones, okay, us comic book fans and us people who watch the show, we know that John Jones is a hero. We know he's a good person, but of course, the American military in the show obviously doesn't trust him. I'm not surprised, because the American military is, well, the American military, but I don't know, like, I love their willingness to do what they can to save John Jones. And some other things I actually kind of enjoyed. First of all, the Easter eggs. Project Cadmus. Jim Harper, who he's a kind of like a B or C level DC superhero called the Guardian. He was featured in Young Justice. He's basically, I don't even know if he has any real powers. He just has this gold helmet and this gold shield. I don't know. He's a cool kind of character. So of course that's who that character was. Who was Colonel Harper. Again, Project Cadmus. I've been thinking for the last like several months. I've been like, okay, like I feel like this show has what it takes to bring in the Superboy storyline. For those of you who don't know, Project Cadmus in the comics, very similar to how they described it in the show. They deal with alien genetics, engineering. Ultimately, all that results in them creating a clone of Superman, a young clone. With not all of Superman's abilities, but he's a clone of Lex Luthor and Superman, and well, he has DNA of both Lex Luthor and Superman. Ultimately, he becomes a member of the Young Justice team in the comics, as well as in the Young Justice cartoon. The Connor Kent version, the Superboy was also in Smallville. Same kind of origin, Superman's DNA, Lex's DNA. Kind of a different take on it, but well, again, I really hope they do this storyline, because these superhero shows, Arrow brought in Roy Harper, Flash has just brought in Wally West. I got it. If this show gets renewed for a second season, which I really hope it does, I don't know why it hasn't already been renewed at this point, because it's a great show, it gets decent ratings, and honestly, I think it's one of the better superhero shows out there. Between this, Flash, Arrow, and Legends of Tomorrow, and Gotham, I gave up on Gotham just because I had a lot of problems with that show, so I'm not going to get into that. But between all the different shows, I think Supergirl, like, he was going back and forth between, like, how much I like it compared to Flash. Because Flash Season 1 was amazing. Supergirl Season 1 isn't quite as good, but I feel like I like Supergirl episodes more than how I like Flash episodes right now at the moment. And speaking of Flash, next week is the Flash and Supergirl crossover, which I'm really, really excited for. But I gotta say, if you guys do plan on watching my videos next week, I will be on vacation, and I'll do my best to get a video up. But more than likely, it's going to be like an audio version of this video, so you probably won't see my face. I'll probably just do like a podcast kind of thing. I'll still do a review in my normal way, except you guys won't see my face. You'll just hear my voice, and I'll have like an image up the entire time or something. Besides the point. Again, I love this show so much now, and not a whole lot of drawbacks. The only issues that I really had with the show, at least in this particular episode, was, the Siobhan character is not giving her a whole lot because they're trying to set up her her to be antagonist and ultimately becoming Silver Banshee, which you see at the end of the episode. We see her use her like that like high powered screeching to like keep her from like falling to her death. So obviously she's like a metahuman. So we'll see how they use that in the Flash and Supergirl crossover. But I feel like that character has been really like it's just been like a one note kind of character. So there's not a whole lot of depth to her at all. And like I kind of mentioned the whole Lucy Lane thing for the first half of the episode. I'm like, oh, here we go. But of course, like I said, by the end of it, I actually really enjoyed her character, and I'm looking forward to what they do with her character and to the next episode in general because it's Flash and Supergirl crossing over. Like I'm so excited to see that, especially. Oh, and I want to go ahead and say this. Most of you guys know that Batman vs Superman comes out this week. Most people are probably going to see opening weekends between Thursday or Friday or Saturday, whatever. I won some advanced screen tickets to see Batman vs. Superman, and I'll actually be seeing it tomorrow night. So by this time tomorrow night, more than likely, I will have a spoiler-free review up of Batman vs. Superman. I'm so excited to see that movie. You guys have no idea. That's honestly been my most anticipated movie of all time. I loved Man of Steel. I'm so excited for that universe. I'm so excited, so I just want to put that in there. So we got that. I have that tomorrow. Flash and Supergirl crossing over next week. A bunch of other stuff coming out. So yeah, with that being said, I don't want to keep you guys watching my annoying geeky face. So with that being said, that's gonna be it for me. So so if you guys like what you see here, go ahead and hit subscribe below. Oh, I do review all these superhero shows every week, and like I said, tomorrow I will be reviewing Batman vs Superman, non-spoiler review, of course. So that'll be up on my channel, and then tomorrow I'll also be reviewing the newest episode of Flash, and then Wednesdays I'll be reviewing Arrow, Thursdays typically Legend of Tomorrow when it's not on hiatus. So yeah, and I have a bunch of other videos on my channel as well. So again, that's gonna be it for me. So until next time, guys, have a good one.